Hey there, Jessie. So I've had a quick look through some of Ben's videos, and I'll do a quick return to his, especially for this task 1, because task 1s are quite easy to correct because they're quite short. So I'll bang this task 1 out to you now, and then we can get started on your next tasks. So the key thing with these is to ensure that we only talk strictly about the information that's in the graph. We must never include any of our own information, and we must only describe the graph accurately, and whenever we say something about the graph, we must back it up with data. From this, there emerges the problem of repetition. If we're constantly describing the data in the same way, it sounds mechanical. So a mechanical recollection of data is the sign of a band 6. When somebody recounts the data appropriately, with variety, then it becomes more of a 7 to 8. So let's have a read through and see if we can add some variety and some precision to your writing. So this is great. The bar graph illustrates new and second-hand car sales. You could have the here, you don't need it, but it's also not incorrect. In 7 different villages, and I would say based on data from the Home Valley Car Group for the year 2013. So I see exactly what you're trying to do here, and this is great because not many students do this, but referencing the source of the data, where does it come from, is absolutely imperative in academic writing. People reading it need to know where the information is coming from. So Holmfirth, Meltham and Upper Thong were the top 3 in car sales. I would say the top 3 for total numbers of car sales. Yeah. I would try to be a little bit more specific and talk about reference each one individually in these sorts of sentences. Giving the range, I suppose you have written enough words, and so giving the range would be fine. But if you ever struggle for word count, you may recount each one. But let's continue reading and see what we've got up to. So Holmfirth, Meltham and Upper Thong were the top 3 for total car sales, or had the highest car sales. The reason I'm struggling with this is because it's difficult to talk about 3 things together with a range and have it sound appropriate. I may have to insist that these were split apart or fed into other sentences commenting on. So like when you're talking about that one of these villages experienced the highest number of used car sales but comparatively smaller number of second-hand car sales. Equal in number. Almost equal in number, with a difference of only 3 vehicles. This is not quite, you could say, with only a 3 vehicle difference, or with a difference of only 3 vehicles would be preferable. Meanwhile, Netherton, with an R, you can't say that Netherton was the least, because Netherton itself was not the least, but Netherton experienced the lowest car sales, or the smallest number of cars sold combined, with only 200 cars sold in the same period. Second-hand sales in Slough and Netherthong were, correct conjugation, were 300 and 233. You would need to put respectively here as well. Second-hand cars in Slough and Netherthong were 300 and 233 respectively, whereas for new cars, the figures were 232 and 177 respectively. Overall, it can clearly be seen that second-hand car sales I would just say significantly outnumbered. Yeah, simple past. Second-hand car sales significantly outnumbered the new car sales across the 6 villages in the year mentioned. Holmfirth had the most overall. Here you could say Holmfirth had the most overall, or Holmfirth experienced the most overall, and Netherton the least. In this sentence structure, we're saying we use a comma, and we say Holmfirth had, or Holmfirth experienced the greatest number of car sales, and Netherton the least. Now remember, because it's in the same sentence, in a separate clause, we don't have to mention the noun again. The noun being car sales, what is it they are experiencing most of, we don't have to say it again. So Holmfirth experienced the highest car sales, or the greatest car sales, and Netherton the least. Except for Longley Farm. Now, if we're saying Netherton was the least, then we can't immediately afterwards say except for Longley Farm, because what we're saying here is Holmfirth had the most, and Netherton had the least, but it didn't, because Longley Farm did. So here we need to use a different conjunctive phrase. Because if this is right, it means that Longley Farm was less than Netherton, which we have said here is the least. So we need to clarify this phrase. Holmfirth experienced the greatest number of car sales, and Netherton the least. And then whatever Longley Farm, what the comment you want to make on Longley Farm here, I think should have a different conjunctive phrase. The point of these graphs as well is to ensure that the examiner can read and have it make sense without looking at the graph. So the examiner needs to read through it and see exactly the data that's in the graph without having to look at it. That's the ideal scenario for these. So actually not that many corrections in this one. You do get the idea, and you don't struggle to write a decent amount. But take note of the few phrases that I did. I decided to just give you a few corrections this time, and we'll work slowly through the essays until we are at the desired point. But well done for these. I would say that you're looking at a 6.5 to a 7 with the corrections applied. So once you've gotten your next essays in, we'll be much faster about this, and we'll return to the 24-hour turnaround and get moving. Thanks very much for getting these in, Jessie. All the best, and I will speak to you very soon. Bye-bye for now.